paper. It's h of t is equal to,
I already got some.
okay,
I'll take enough. You said you had it. Thank you.
you sure you want some?
Okay.
And you pick one, and then put one. Is that one? Is equal to negative 16t squared plus 30t plus 200. If it feels better, you can call it f of x,
Yeah, or Y. Right?
yep, or y. And you can call the t's x's, that's totally fine. Sorry, just taking a little bit, should have done this before. So if you want, you can totally do f of x is equal to negative 16x squared plus 30x plus 200. So you can just write that down. So the question is, what's the height of the stone when it was thrown? So it's x seconds. Is, you know, how long it's been after it's been thrown.
So how did you figure
And
that?
then f of y, I mean, y is the height. Well, I guess you have to, maybe I'll call f of x is the height. Then you have to figure out that that means y. Right? F of x. Height.
T above the base is given after T seconds. What is the height? So the what is always the, I thought the what was X. The what's the Y?
No, that's only for proportions.
Yeah,
This
it's
is not the same
confusing.
thing
Okay,
at all.
yeah.
When you only have an x, so Eric,
Yeah.
that's the difference.
Okay.
When there's only one variable you're trying to find,
Yeah,
then, and you have a proportion, then you make the what the x. You know what, we should make the what the y. Because you can just solve that, and then you can solve for y in your proportion. So maybe with the proportions, when you set up a proportion, make the what the y, and you'll have 3 numbers and a y,
yeah.
and then the what will always be y.
Yeah, because it was like on the last test, one of them I
Right.
used an X for what, and then one of them I used a Y for what.
Right, so for
Yeah.
example, if I say, three copies, 30 copies. 30 copies take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. How long will 45 copies take?
Yeah, see, this is kind of a problem I understand better, but.
Okay, so make your y the how long. Does that make sense? Make that y. So then I'm going to have how long y over, so this goes with 45 copies, over 45 copies. Does that make sense? Equals, what goes on the other side? I've got 30
10 over
copies
30.
and 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 over 30.
So 10 minutes over 30 copies. And then how do we solve this? We just multiply both sides by
Yeah,
45. Everybody all right with that part? Yeah? So we want these two to cancel out.
yeah, so it doesn't matter, in these kind of problems, it doesn't matter what you call it.
But you call it y.
Yeah.
That way you don't get screwed up on the other
On
on
the
all
other.
the other problems.
Right, okay.
Because there's only going to be one of these. And there's going to be like 5 of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So just always call your what y.
okay,
And that will make that, I think, a little bit easier.
yeah.
So this ends up being 15 by the time you do it all. So yeah, so that's what I would say is make this always make your how long or your what, your why.
Yeah.
I think that'd be easier.
Okay. But this is a totally different problem than the one we're doing right now.
It is
Yeah.
a completely different problem.
Yeah, I mean,
So the
it's,
problem is, as you said, well, if I always make my how longs my x's, that screws up the other problem completely.
yeah,
The how longs make the how longs your y's.
yeah, or the unknowns or the whats or whatever, yeah.
The what's, yeah. So here,
What is the height?
what's the height of the stone when it was thrown?
So make that the y?
Well, actually, they gave you the y, so you're not making anything. You have no choices in this. So, what is the height? Is my height my x or my y?
Well, according to this, it's your x, but I don't know how.
Where does it say? It says my x is my height? Where does it say the x is
No,
my
I
height?
say the y is the height.
F of x is f of x, my x or my y?
Y,
Yes. So
Yeah.
my f of x is my height.
that's y, yeah.
My y is my height.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So what is the height? What's y when it was thrown? So when it was thrown, is when it was thrown, is that feet or time or seconds when it was thrown? When it was thrown,
Time.
is that, do we measure like, it was thrown at, well, I guess you can say, I guess it has both, right?
Yeah.
So when it was thrown, what do I know about the x when it was thrown?
0 seconds?
0 seconds. Does that make sense? When I throw it, my time when I release it is 0 seconds.
It's a
It's
start
0
time.
seconds after I've thrown it.
Okay, starting time,
It's my starting time.
yeah.
So, in other words, this means, what is the height when x is 0?
X is 0.
More importantly, you know what, let's not even worry about that. Just find the vertex. Just find the vertex, and then we'll do this part afterwards.
Negative b over 2a?
Yep.
Okay.
So I will give you this. I will say vertex h equals negative b over 2a. So then vertex like that. Has a couple of parentheses in there. So it has a double parentheses, but like that. So I'll give you that information. And then you need to find the vertex. And then I want you to answer 2 questions. One is, what's the height when it was thrown? After you answer this question, find that. Oh no, don't do that. Sorry, I don't care about that. Oh yeah. I'll ask, what is the Y-intercept? Y-intercept? I'll ask you, does it have the minimum maximum? And what is the minmax? What is it? And then I'll also ask you, at what time does it reach min or max? So those are the 4 questions you need to answer.
I guess I don't understand what each number in the equation represents as far as like, putting it into words. What do you call that when you?
Okay, so
Yeah.
the vertex is h comma k, h comma f of h.
Okay.
This is k. Okay, so, okay, stop. Let's stop for a second. Do you understand what A and B are?
Well, yeah, I know what A, B, and C is.
A, B, and C are from your formula, right? A is your coefficient in front of x squared. B is your
Yeah.
coefficient in front of x.
Right.
C is the constant, is the number, just a
Yeah,
plain number.
I got that.
Okay. The vertex is this point.
It's the top of the arch?
Yeah, it's the top of the arch. Or if it goes down, it would be the bottom of the arch,
Oh, yeah, no.
right? It's one of these two. So there's going to be an x coordinate to it, and there's going to be a y coordinate to that. Right? It'll have a this direction coordinate, and it'll have an up down coordinate to that point low, because it's graphed. You know, there's a graph, right?
Yeah.
So it'll have some sort of not there, you know, like that. So it'll have some sort of minimum and maximum. So the x coordinate is usually our time, how many seconds, how many hours, how many weeks, whatever the x is in. I don't know, but it's almost always time. Your time is along the x-axis, and then the other thing that you're measuring is along the y-axis. In this case, the height of the ball. So how many seconds, you know, after throwing it, has it gone? So I throw the ball, it goes, right? So as it travels, its height as it travels. So I'm not talking about how far it travels. We don't care about how far it travels. We're saying over time, the height of the ball goes here. The height of the ball goes 0 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, you know, whatever, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just talking about how high the ball is as time goes along. Not how far, not the distance it's gone, but how high it is. That's all we care about. Okay.
With the maximum height, right? Where you're talking about.
Right. So so here, if it's like this, it'll be a maximum height.
Yeah.
That'll be your y. The x will tell you at what time that occurs. Over here would be the minimum height,
Yeah.
if it goes like this, and what time it occurs at. That's what your vertex does. The vertex, right, the vertex is your x comma y. Your time, so going back to this here, right, oops, wrong one. It's time comma height. Right, because x is my seconds, it's always x comma y. X time comma y, height.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. Those are the points as we go along the graph.
And time's always x?
Always,
Time's
for this
always
class.
X. Okay.
99% of the time in the world, time is x.
Okay.
The only time that time isn't x is, it's very rare that time will not be x.
Okay.
I won't say it never happens, because there are problems where it happens, but all the problems we're going to encounter, time is your x.
Okay.
All right, so you need to find your vertex. The vertex, what that point is, it's a special point. So it's an x comma y, because it's an important x and y. The x and y have actual names at that spot. The x at that spot we call h.
Yeah.
The y at that spot we call k, because they're important x and y's. They're not just any old x and y. They're kind of a special x and y. Does that sort of make sense? So this is h comma k. H comma k. Right? So this is h. This is k. They're the x and the y. I mean, I'll call them x and y. They're probably. But k is, so I'm not going to give it to you, but you should know that k is f of h.
K is what?
Okay, yeah, k is the y when h is your x. It's the y when your x is h. Right, because this is y
Yeah.
when x is h. Remember, f of x is your y.
Yeah.
This is your x.
Yeah.
That's your x. So that's what we're sorting out. We're going to use the fact that h is negative b over 2a. And I would say, I should probably give it to you with the negatives in front, because you shouldn't always have to have the negative on top. The negative can absolutely be in front. Negative b over 2a. This negative can float, can go on the top, it can go on the bottom, it can go in front. Maybe it's easier for people if we just put it in the front. Might be simpler.
But then how would we know which one to take the negative on?
The whole thing. Take negative of the whole thing.
Oh, just you take the negative of the answer then.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of taking it, like what I did was I put negative 30 because it was positive 30.
Oh, you can do that. That totally works.
Yeah, but you can just take the negative of the answer instead.
Yes.
Just do it all positive.
Because your answer will be negative and then you take the opposite and negative of that, which will be positive.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. So what I want you now to do is find the vertex
Okay.
and then answer the first, then answer these two problems below. So first find the vertex.
Okay. And
Then find whether it has, say whether it has a minimum or maximum, and what the minimum or maximum is, and then what time does it reach that minimum maximum, and then give me the y-intercept. So those are the 4 things I want you all to do now. So we put in b is 30, so negative b over 2 times a is negative 16, and we need to get getting 0.937. Then my k, the y part of the vertex, is f of h. So I'm just going to put in h into my original formula. So negative 16 times something squared plus 30 times something plus 200. That something is my h. So I'm going to take my h, I'm going to put it in for x. And we'll get, if you write a 3 sig figs, so in general 3 sig figs is what we want. So 1, 2, 3, 3 sig figs. Over here again, 3 sig figs, 1, 2, 3. The zeros don't count. So that's not everything though. You got to write it out as a point. This is the vertex, h, comma, k. Okay, so is it a minimum or maximum? Is it happy or unhappy?
Not happy.
It's unhappy because a is negative. So if it's unhappy, it opens downwards. So it's downward is unlimited. It's unlimitedly down, but it has a maximum happiness. Kind of its maximum at that point. So it's going to be like this one. It's a max. What's the max? So the maximum is your output. What's my output? My x or my y?
Yeah.
Y. What's my maximum? So what's my maximum output? 214. What's my y again? It represents my time or my height? Height. So 214 feet. At what time does it reach that minimum or maximum?
937.
0.937 seconds. Good. Good? Okay. We did the translation part. Did everybody feel okay with the translation part?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like we should do something where we have like, let me go to here. 7. Okay, this is a good one. Oh. Yeah, sure. So what kind of problem is this? It's a word problem, right? So then your options are,
Exponential.
so then flip to the front of your exam. Your front of your exam will say direct variation, inverse variation. Does it say direct or inverse at all?
It says
No.
exponential.
And then you should look for, and then it says exponential. And then if you know if exponential, the other thing would be linear. Does it say exponential or linear?
Yes.
Oh yeah, there it does. B, exponential. Everyone see that? So this is going to be an exponential. Everybody on board with that? Okay. So when you see exponential, then you're going to flip to the front of your exam. And the front page, it's going to say exponential. Y equals C times A to the X. Everybody good with that part? So now you need to figure out what the growth factor is. You need to write the exponential function just represents the relationship. And figure out how much money would be in the account when the worker is 60 years old. He starts off at 30. So sort of you gotta think about what X is. So think about the two things that vary in the problem. So what should be your X, what should be your Y? And then figure out what C and A are. So does everyone remember what C represents? I'm not going to tell you, but do you remember what C represents? What does C represent?
Initial amount?
Your initial amount.
Y-Intercept?
So C is your initial amount. So this is what you're given. You should know that C is the initial amount. That's on you to know that. And then what's A? Yeah, your growth factor or decay factor if it goes down. Exactly. Factor, the thing you're multiplying. Okay, so you figure out those things. So figure out the two things that vary. And what are the two things that vary?
Oh.
The worker's age.
The worker's age and what? What's something else? Someone else?
Or the money.
The money. Yeah, the money varies. So please note, he's 30 years old when this happens. So X should be the number of years. Should X be his age?
Well, Y is the money for sure.
Y is the money for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So X is, so if X is his age, is it his age now or his age? Well, think it through. I'll let you folks
Would
kind of.
X be his age because that's what's changing in time?
It kind of is his age, except for there's a little bit of a
It's the
change
multiplier,
to
right?
it. No.
No? What's, the X is the multiplier, but what's
No. X is the variable.
variable? What's
X and Y are your variables. Okay, hold up. X and Y are always the two things that are changing in the problem.
Okay.
The multiplier,
What's the multiplier?
I don't know what you mean by multiplier. Do you mean the C or the A?
I don't know, I just.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
But the C and the A are numbers. They're fixed. They're constants. X and Y are the two variables. X and Y are always our variables. Those are always the two things that vary.
Okay.
C and A are some number you need to find that stayed put for this whole problem. All right, so the initial amount is the initial amount of the problem. It doesn't change. It's not like
5,000.
right. It's always 5,000. It's not like for this problem that sometimes it's 5,000, sometimes it's 200. He put in 5,000. It's not going to change. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You're going to say, hey, buddy, even though you put in 5,000, I'm going to make your initial amount 200 sometimes.
Right.
It's always going to be 5,000 because that's how much you put in. The growth factor, how much it grows,
9%.
9%. That's also constant for this problem.
Okay.
We're not saying, hey, sometimes you're going to get 9%, sometimes you're going to get 11%, sometimes you're going to get 7%. It's for this problem, he's always going to get 9%. But that's his growth rate, not his growth factor.
Right, so the factor is 100 plus 9%, right? 109%
Right.
converted to a fraction.
Yep.
Okay.
And remember, that's your C and A. That's another thing that I think that you, that was one of your other mistakes. Is that you gotta remember that, actually a few people made this mistake. A number of people made this mistake. C and A are numbers. They're fixed numbers. Your X and Y, those are the things that vary. So when you plug something in to a problem, if you plug in an X and a Y, they go into the X, Y spots. If you have any, if I say that, that after 4 years, he has $7,000, those are X and Y. They should plug into X and Y. Does that make sense for folks? So, do this problem first, and then we'll talk about that later. But I do want to make it clear that you're trying to find C and A. Those are fixed numbers. Any points that you have, those are just X's and Y's at one moment in time. Just at one moment in time. The C's and A's are true the whole time. So you got to figure out what C and A are.